Hello again and welcome. It's Nana here with a sequel to my previous video on food labels. And today we're going to move on to the ingredients list. Ingredients are listed in order of weight, beginning with the ingredient that weighs the most to the one that weighs the least. So this means that a food contains more of the ingredients at the beginning of the list and less of the ones that is at the end of the list. So if sugar starts, then the highest quantity of the ingredients in that packaged food is sugar. If water is the last, and that would be water or whatever the list may show. You might see different things labeled in different ways. Sometimes it's even hard to figure out what exactly it is. So I'm going to break down some of the things that are usually listed on the ingredients list, various ways in which it can be listed, which might mean the same thing. So here we go. So you might see, for example, chicken fat, bacon fat, hydrogenated fats and oils, palm kernel oil, milk solids, shortening, tallow. Now all these would be very high in saturated fat. Things that would indicate trans fats in the food include hard margarines. If you see hydrogenated fats and oils, it's definitely going to have some trans fats because the hydrogenation process leads to production of trans fats. Not to mention that there are naturally occurring trans fats as well in some of the animal products. So shortening, as I said, partially hydrogenated fats or hydrogenated fats, those would all be higher in trans fats. Now sodium, we all know salt. That is sodium chloride. So usually that's what we're looking for, but there are other ingredients that you may see that would indicate sodium. Example, brine, celery salt, disodium phosphate, things like MSG, soy sauce would be very high in sodium as well. Sodium benzoate, usually used as a preservative. So it just depends how much of it is in the food. Of course, there is some naturally occurring sodium in even whole foods, and in food manufacturing, sodium plays a large role. Basically helps in preserving the food. So those are a few examples I gave you there. And sugar. So sugar, a lot of times food producers try to kind of mask or almost trick us with some of the ways that sugar is depicted on the ingredients list. Sure, you've probably seen hydrogenated cane juice, right? It's like cane juice, hydrogenated cane juice. Okay, scratch that. Okay, so dehydrated cane juice. Dehydrated cane juice would just be your simple table sugar, because in the production of sugar, it could be either from beet juice or cane juice. It's dehydrated through processes, and that's how you get your table sugar. So that's almost like a way to think that, oh, we have something exotic or something healthy, but it's just sugar. Brown sugar or cane juice extract, corn syrup, dextrose, fructose, galactose, dextrin, high fructose corn syrup, honey, invert sugar, lactose. These are all forms of sugar in the food. So don't be tricked. You might also see syrup or sucrose. Instead of saying sugar, they would say sucrose, which is the normal table sugar. Sometimes by regulation, not all of them have to be listed. So depending on how much of it is in the product, if it is in very low quantities, it might not be required to be listed. Other times, certain things are listed if it's been found to have adverse effects on health, like maybe carcinogens or cancer causing and things like that. So no matter what quantity, it would be listed on the food that this food contains this particular ingredients. Allergens, for example. So you've seen, I'm sure, other ingredients lists that say may contain nuts or tree nuts. So because some people may be very allergic to nuts, or think about all your very famous allergens. And so even if the packaged foods itself doesn't contain these ingredients, they just want to warn you that it was made in a facility that also processes nuts. And so you should be careful or exercise some discretion when buying that particular food. Generally, the fewer the ingredients, the better. Now, why is that? If you look at the ingredients list and it's so long, you know, like a long rap sheet, then it's almost certainly an indication that the food might be highly processed, because you have to process the food in order to incorporate all these ingredients. So the fewer the better. If you have 5 ingredients or less, that's great. So this is all, you know, in trying to avoid very highly processed foods. Of course, even when you talk about processing foods, for example, drying, say apricots, it's a type, the apricot has undergone some type of processing, but it is not highly processed. You can still make out that this was an apricot. In case the same apricot was made into a candy, that would be highly processed. Kind of like a rule of thumb thing, because you can't even recognize the apricot from the candy that you're eating, right? And usually that would require adding other ingredients as well. So next time you go shopping, just take a minute and look at the ingredients list of your favorite foods that you buy. Usually, if we find something that we really like, we just grab it off the shelf. We don't really, you know, look much into it, because this is really good, and then we get it. But just take a quick look. You might be disappointed, or you might be pleasantly surprised and dig in the more. So there you have it for today. Come by again next time, and bye.